Can you pursue excellence and authenticity in worship ministry, or are those two thoughts mutually exclusive? Well, I have a friend that runs a similar YouTube channel to Practical Worship, and he would sum up the entire vision of his channel using both of those words, excellence and authenticity. Hi, I'm Dave Dolphin at practicalworshipblog.com, sharing ideas, tips, and practical advice for the everyday worship leader. And on this channel, we have weekly videos that help you lead a worship band and be a leader of people. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next video. So Brian Wahl is a worship leader, but he is also a YouTuber who has been doing this kind of a thing for as long as YouTube has been a thing. So needless to say, much longer than anything I've done here at Practical Worship. He has a channel called Worship Tutorials, and on there he has similar videos about leading a worship ministry, but he also has guitar tutorials and covers of worship songs and the Sunday vlog, which is gold. There are two words that get used quite a bit in worship ministry, and they are excellence and authenticity. And many times these two words, these two thoughts, are seen as opposites, meaning that you can have one or the other, but you can't have both. But not only do I think that these two ideas can and should go together, Brian's entire YouTube channel is based around the fusion of these two words coming together. Here's some great thoughts from Brian on this topic.
Hey, I want to talk to you briefly about two of, I think, the most important things that you can pursue when it comes to leading worship, and they are excellence and authenticity. The reason I think these things are so important and so universal is because it doesn't matter how large or small your church is, it doesn't matter how many people you have on your stage, whether it's just you and an instrument singing, or you've got a stage full of people and a choir. It doesn't matter what style you do. It doesn't matter, where you are geographically, what the socioeconomic makeup is of your church. You can pursue excellence and authenticity in every single circumstance. And the reason also that I chose these two words, let's take them one by one. Excellence. The Bible mandates this. So I think a lot of people get hung up with this idea of excellence, and they think that we start to make things all about the show, if you will. It's a concert. But really, excellence is something different than that. We first see it in the story of creation. If you think about the story of Genesis, God creates everything, and then he stands back and he looks at it and he says, "It is good." And when I read that, I think to myself, God did something that when God stepped back and looked at it, he said, I've done something with excellence. It's good. And they took a break, which is nice, which we should also do. The next time we see this in the Bible is the story of Cain and Abel. It doesn't take long for us to see this pattern of excellence in the Bible, and it's all throughout. So Cain and Abel both bring their sacrifices, and God accepts Abel's sacrifice, and he rejects Cain's, and he rejects it because Cain didn't bring him the best. And that's what God demanded of Cain and Abel, of his people. What he demands of us, he demands our best. Finally, in Colossians 3:23 and 24, we read this: "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." So the Bible clearly tells us that it doesn't matter anything that we're doing, whether it's like mowing the yard on a Saturday afternoon, or our, whatever job that it is you might do. If you work in the secular field, you have a full-time job. Anything that you do, raising your kids, anything, do it with as much excellence as you possibly can. And when I think about this, I think about what we do in the church as far as worship leading. I think that we should be even held to a higher standard than that. What we're doing when we lead worship is we're bringing people together and we're drawing close to God. We're focusing our attention on God. And I think that should be if we're going to focus on excellence anywhere, that should be the place that we do it the most. And a lot of times I think what happens in our churches is, I've heard the saying, well, it's good enough. And I think I almost think that's a bordering on a sin if we think that it's just good enough, if we just do almost like the bare minimum to prepare ourselves to lead people in worship. So how does that work in our daily lives? Well, if you're playing music on a Sunday morning, that means that you prepare that music as well as you possibly can. You know that music, and you can execute that music with as much excellence as possible. I think it means setting our teams up to do the same thing. A lot of times I hear about, worship teams get songs and materials, a few days before Sunday or maybe the day of rehearsal. I think we can do better than that. And if we do better than that, we can achieve a much higher standard of excellence, and it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require anything of us but more time and more effort and more devotion to what we're doing. I think we should do it when it comes to how we're going to get from one song to the next, transitions, what we're going to say to people when we have a moment to pray or to speak over their congregations. How do we approach these moments so that we can execute them with the highest level of excellence as possible? I think this is extremely important. It's different than perfection. Perfection is a trap we can fall into because we're never going to achieve that. What excellence means is doing the very best we can with the resources that we have available to us. And anyone can do it regardless of budget, even regardless of talent or skill level. We can all pursue the highest level of excellence possible. And God not only requires it, He demands it of us. So the second word we're focusing on is authenticity. I believe in our culture today, people want authenticity almost over anything else. Actually, last week, before our services started, we had a meeting. Before we did our run through on Sunday morning, we had a meeting, and our campus pastor at the campus I was serving at, he had a little talk for us, and he used the words polish and passion. He said both of them are important. Polish is good. You have to be polished. I kind of think about that as kind of like excellence in a way. You have to show up prepared, ready to do things as well as you can. That's polish. But passion is probably more important. He said this to our team.
So forgive my shorts. I thought I was going to be doing CrossFit in the parking lot this morning. The propensity to say we're going to just hope and trust and believe in believe in polish is there. But I pray today that as you get up here and that you lead from a place of passion. You maybe even lead from a place of shiganoth today, because you know what God has done for you and what He's going to continue to do through you as you worship today. Because at the end of the day, people are impressed by polish, but people have an encounter with God when they see your passion because you're having an encounter with God.
People can spot a fake, they can smell it a mile away, and I think sometimes we as worship leaders, we can get into ruts. I know I can get into ruts where I start saying the same things over and over. I start praying the same things over and over again. If we set up a song, I'll just start using lyrics from the song to say, we're going to sing a song about the lion and the lamb. Our God is a lion and a lamb. We can do better than that. We can set up a song. We can make it more authentic. We can put our own personality, our own life experiences into it. I believe authenticity is so important for us as worship leaders that if we don't pursue this, that our congregations, if they sense that we're not being authentic from the platform, whether it's us as worship leaders or if you're a pastor, if you're a teaching pastor, if they perceive us as not being authentic, I think people are going to search for that kind of an experience elsewhere. It's just part of the culture that we live in, at least here in America. But I think it's true of just people. People want relationship. God designed us to be in relationship, and relationship requires authenticity. It can get scary, it can get messy. I know I've stepped on stage where I've prepared to share something from my own life story, and you're vulnerable and it's scary, and you think, what are people going to think of me if they learn something about me that maybe I don't want them to know? Or if people really see me, who I really am, are they really going to want to follow me? But I think if we don't do that, people aren't going to want to follow us anyway. Because people want to follow somebody that they know that's a human being like they are. They go through things in life just like they do. People want to be in relationship. And you can do that from the stage if you just let yourself through. So I want you to be encouraged today. God has created you specifically to be who you are. He has placed you where you are to lead worship. God has brought you through life experiences so that you can share that with people, so that you can, walk through that with people when they go through similar things, so that you can lead people through it as you lead worship from your stage. Pursue excellence to the best of your ability. Be yourself as much as you can on stage and lead people well.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. It has been a joy to get to know him over these last couple of months and to see his heart and his love for God and for ministry and for worship leaders. And he is originally from Oklahoma, which is where I'm at currently, so we have that in common. If you haven't already, check out worship tutorials. And if you're brand new to practical worship, I'm so glad that you're here. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And for more advice from me personally, there's a small little ebook called 20 Things I Wish I Knew 20 years ago. It's the advice that I have learned over the last 20 years of doing music ministry, and you can download it right now for free at practicalworshipblog.com.